Hi, I'm Brian.
And I'm Brad.
And we run a clothing company called Two Blind Brothers. And this is one of our videos in our series talking about living with Stargardts. If you haven't checked out the videos before this, please go back and do so. But today we are going to talk about school, going to school with Stargardt's disease.
Stargardt's affects your eyes. It doesn't affect your brains. And there are going to be a few little things that make the classroom experience and the school experience better for you, but this isn't going to affect your ability to learn, to understand concepts. It's not going to affect your ability to socialize or to have sort of a normal experience in the classroom for the most part.
And it won't get you out of homework like I thought it might. Thanks, Mom.
The biggest challenges with Stargardt's disease in the school setting are seeing the blackboard, seeing the books, and recognizing your friends' faces.
The best thing you can do is to be very upfront with what you can and cannot see, taking ownership over what you are capable of seeing.
We went right to the school before the beginning of the year, and we described the condition. We had all the paperwork that let them know that I was visually impaired, and then we started coming up with solutions to help. Number one, seeing the chalkboard. We used special chalk, yellow chalk on the blackboard, just particularly helped me with the contrast on the board. We asked the teachers to write larger. And we asked the teachers, when you're writing something on the board, can you try to make a mental note to say it out loud? So that even if I couldn't see something on the board, I was getting the information from the teacher speaking it. And if I couldn't see something and I needed to see it, I would get up out of my seat and go to the chalkboard in order to see it. And that primarily solved the chalkboard issue for me. I did find it to be a little bit of a struggle because sometimes in a math class where there's concepts and the board is very critical to show the graphs and things like that, one tool that I used was after I would get home from that lesson, I would actually go onto my computer and research the topic on Google, where I had the ability to magnify, use text-to-speech, find teachers that are all over the internet that potentially are doing a better job than the teacher in the classroom. And that really helped me keep up in those circumstances where I maybe wasn't catching everything that was going on the board.
And problem two that we cited of seeing textbooks. This can be a little bit trickier of an issue because there's no one there to help read it aloud to you necessarily. What you can do is CCTVs. My entire college experience was spent sitting in front of a CCTV where I could magnify the book and zoom in and actually read hard-covered books. This was especially good when I was in high school and college, reading a bit more higher level math and science books where if they were just large print, sometimes the graphs and the examples could be thrown off a bit. Two is get your books digitally on your computers where you will have the ability to zoom in, do speech to text, and use all of the accessibility software to help bring that book closer to you.
We should mention that we haven't been in school for a little while now, and there might be some great technologies that are there that weren't there when we were there. Things like digital chalkboards, iPhones or iPads that let you zoom in on the chalkboard, AI that can read handwritten notes back to you. All of these things might be very practical solutions now.
The final challenge being recognizing friends, and we're going to do a longer form video, which we'll link to, on how exactly to navigate social life while visually impaired. But the best and most practical use, especially in school, is you are going to be going to classes with the same people pretty repetitively in very similar rooms. I remember I had an assigned seat. just try and take note of macro details of people. I know it sounds a lot harder than it is, but when you start living this way, you'll start understanding, oh, the kid with the yellow hair that's a little taller than me is probably Michael. And the other piece of advice that I always give is to be upfront about it, saying, hey, yep, sorry, bad eyesight, who am I talking to? Or better than that, I usually just don't use their name. Use a lot of pronouns. Hey there, hey buddy, hey friend, hey pal, hey tiger, hey sport, hey miss. But those are kind of the two easiest ways to get around it. And again, as we talked about in a previous video, Stargardts doesn't happen overnight. So you're going to have quite a long time to try a bunch of different methods to see what will work for you. But the biggest thing is most everyone I ever met throughout my life is very understanding about me not recognizing them. So don't be afraid to go out, make friends, and be extroverted because you're worried people won't think that you will see them again.
I also want to bring up one situation that will inevitably happen to you or someone you love if you're in school with Stargardt's disease. A substitute teacher or some sort of lesson plan or something is going to require everyone in the class to go around and either read something that's on the board, or you're going to have a substitute teacher that asks you to read something out of a book and you're not going to be able to see it, and they're not going to be aware, they will have forgotten that you have an eye issue. When I was going through that in middle school, it just terrified me. I didn't want to be called out. The way you solve that is twofold. You make sure that you identify those situations to teachers so that they know either not to call on you for that particular, to read the little caption in the book, or that they lay it out in a way so that you can sort of participate. Oh, they're doing an exercise on the board. They give you the large printed copy so it's right there in front of you that you actually can see. Sometimes that doesn't work. And so if you are in that situation where you're going to be confronted, you're not going to be able to do what you're being asked to do in the classroom in front of all of your peers, you have to just boldly say that you can't see it. It's not a big deal. It's not a dramatic moment. It's super matter of fact. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. Yeah, I can't see. I can't see it. I have bad vision. Really easy. It moves past it. The less of a big deal that you make it, the less everyone else will see it as a big deal. Your state offers services for students with disabilities. Depending on your state, they're going to be different. But you will be surprised at the things you can get. In college, for example, we had this Learning Needs Center, and they actually offered to have a note taker for us in the classroom. Despite the fact we can hear and get 90% of what's going on, we could actually have, at no expense to us, someone writing down the lesson plan who's a very organized note taker for everything that we're doing. The lesson here is take advantage of all the resources that you're allowed to take advantage of. Another great one is extra time on tests. If you're visually impaired, you get time and a half or 2x time on your tests. You're going to do better on those tests because of that. It's something you should definitely be taking advantage of.
And we are always asked if we learned Braille or we read Braille. Brad and I did learn it at an early age. We, because of the nature of Stargardt's disease, have not kept up with it to the same degree because we still had some functional vision and could get around reading Braille with technology. It was a useful skill. It's a good thing to learn, but from Brad and I's situation, it was not a necessity.
Here's why we wanted to make a video on school. First of all, we get asked about it a lot. Parents are very concerned that their kids are going to have difficulty in school. Here is the big thing though. You cannot let the vision impairment be something that stops you from learning or keeping up with your class, because that is going to be the thing that affects your ability to execute on what you want in life, your career, your relationships, etc. So under no circumstances can you go through that school year without doing everything you can to make sure that you have a handle on what is being taught. You have an eye condition, which will slow down your ability to do some types of work. But being a little bit smarter, being a little bit more informed, is going to help close the gap on that dramatically. Out of social fear or out of resolving yourself to the fact that you have this vision impairment, you cannot let it hold you back from learning everything that's being taught in that classroom.
Thank you so much for watching this video on Stargardt as it relates to schools. We know there's a lot of people out there with some great advice that have done this more recently than Brad and I. Please, please put your experiences and the best tips and tricks that you have in the comments down below, because somebody is going to be able to take advantage of something that you have already learned. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.